Thank you for joining me today. I'm Madeline Blair, and this is Unlocked. You can't have a successful career without knowing how to deal with the unexpected. Unlocked is a show all about opening possibilities so that when you're hit with the unexpected, you have options from which to choose. Curious about the background of this show? Check out my book, Unlocked, Discover How to Embrace the Unexpected. It's available on Kindle, audio, and paperback. And if you would like to explore what it means to build and nurture your resilience with me as your mentor, schedule a conversation by sending me an email to madeline@madelineblair.com. And you can see that address right there on the screen. Well, our agenda for today is I have a special interview with Laurel Sim, and I'll be introducing her to you later. And then we're going to go into a conversation with my two guests. And finally, I'll be talking about a book of impact, one that had a real impact on my life and work. Our topic today is helping teens prepare for their future. It's called Living Inside Our Stories. When you were a teenager, did you know who you were? I mean, really know? When I was a teenager, I had no clue who I really was. Well, other than being a little sister. When you were a teenager, did some of you hope that that one day you would make more than your parents? When I was a teenager, it never occurred to me. Yet my chances of making more than my parents, even by the age of 30, was more than 90%. Today, that has dropped to less than 50%. Did you know that you were experiencing the most changes in your entire life during your teen years? Now, when I was a teenager, I was only aware of the outward changes to my body. No clue that the really big changes were going on in my brain. What a tumultuous time in our lives. And if we didn't find satisfaction for those questions that I just posed, it becomes clear why Brené Brown says, you either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. My desire is to see every teen find either answers or satisfaction for those questions I just posed, so that they do not spend their lives hustling for their worthiness, and instead bring their very best to the world by living inside their stories. Laurel Sim and I are both mentors to teenagers. We felt it would be useful for others to see our approaches designed to meet the individual goals of the teen, and then let the mentees themselves come and talk about their experiences. Let's begin with an earlier conversation with Laurel Sim. I'm going to play a short part of the video and maybe bring in, as we go through our conversation, other pieces of that video. So hang on and let me bring Laura into our conversation here. Senior project executive. Laurel has worked in project management for more than 20 years. She is a co-host of the podcast, The Mission Driven Leader. Fabulous, by the way. And as part of her personal commitment, she mentors teams. So again, Laurel, welcome.
Well, thank you, Madeline. I always enjoy my time with you.
I really am curious as to why you choose to work with teenagers, and in particular, Ashley.
A big part of how I was successful was I always had mentors, and they were always of a more informal nature. And it wasn't until later on in my career that I realized the value of having these people in my life to provide direction, to give guidance, to tell me when I'm messing up, because we all need the mess up talk. And I kept thinking, if I would have had this a little bit earlier on, how further along would I be? And so I felt that it was important for me to contribute back to the youth that allows them to flourish early in their days, especially when they want to, and they're looking for that guidance and that support. I have committed to having 3 mentors or mentees at a time that are of the teenage, early university years, to support them on their academic journey, their professional job journey, just whatever it is that they need to kind of get their head wrapped around whatever it is they need in that moment. But we have to have a real goal. We have to have good intention. And that's what I'm constantly taken aback by with these young people and their passion and their clarity. It's a bit humbling at times, to be honest.
I remember one time in an early conversation with you, you referred to yourself as a stepping stone. I want to act as a stepping stone for other people. My sense is you are that stepping stone for many people.
Absolutely. And a big part of the stepping stone is when I hire somebody, I assume they're not going to stay with me forever, but I want to be the best stepping stone. I want to be the best semblance of a good human to help them down their path, right? Yeah. Like give them direction, give them feedback, allow them to fail, allow them to enjoy their successes and rewards. And that's absolutely why when Ashley reached out to me after actually a podcast of yours, reached out to me and asked if I would mentor her, I was quite surprised. I've not mentored anybody outside of Canada in the past. At the same time, I told her what my demands were, because we all have demands as mentors, which is you have to have a goal, you have to do your homework. My time is just as valuable as your time. So we show up for our sessions and we're ready and prepared. And man, I think she's my stepping stone. It was fantastic.
As you were talking, I was thinking, oh my goodness, if I had only had a mentor when I was a teenager. There were just so many things that I just didn't know and didn't know of myself.
I feel bad. In Canada, we call them counselors. So you go in and you speak with the counselor to go and determine what you want to do after you're done high school, whether it's going to trades, university for a little while. I feel bad for them because they've not actually experienced what I've experienced, right? Like I've worked in 17 different industries, Madeline. Like how can you ask a counselor to help these young people better understand the world if they don't have all of these opportunities like I do or like you do? So I think that's a missed opportunity for sure.
You know, as you described it, I was thinking, I remember the conversation I had with the counselor, and she told me I should be an ornamental horticulturalist. And I had to go look it up. And it's sort of like somebody who does landscaping or arranges flowers. Now, believe me, those are things that tap into all my talents. But she never mentioned the fact that in mathematics, I was absolutely at the top rank. She never mentioned that. And of course, that's eventually what I went into, what I studied.
That's the journey that Ashley and I went through. Most definitely is understanding what are your capabilities, what are your desires, and what do we need to fix? Where are the gaps in skills, capabilities, understanding, all of those types of things. It was really a fantastic journey that we took, understanding that and allowing her to figure it out on her own without me telling her she should be a horticulturist, right? Helping her just to be like, these are all the things that you've got. Where are we headed? Like, where are we going? I like the idea of them having a voice outside of their parents, outside of their teachers, that allows them to just be free in conversation and curious and kind of really, really exploit whatever it is that's going on in their brain right now.
Well, we've been talking about these two people that we've been mentoring. So let me bring them on because I want to introduce to you Ashley Qiao and Sidel Anku.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Good to be here.
All right. There. Now we've got everybody on the screen the way I want you. Well, let me introduce you a little bit to our audience, and then we're going to jump right into your thoughts. My first guest is Ashley Qiao, a high school senior. Ashley studied the piano 13 years from the age of 4. She has studied art for 6 years and now spends much of her free time honing her artistic abilities, hoping to merge her entrepreneurial spirit and creativity into fashion design. And if you think this is in the future, she is already the business owner of Tsukikamo, Yes?
Yes, that's it. You got it.
Tsukikamo
Apparel.
Apparel. Yeah,
Mhm.
as a designer and marketer of clothing. Awesome. Now, my other guest is Sidel Anku, just entering her junior year. No, sophomore year. I had that wrong, didn't I, Sidel?
Yes, I'm entering my junior. Yeah.
Entering your junior year. Okay, good. Entering her junior year of high school. Her passion today is sports. Now, she is a serious competitor: volleyball, swimming, figure skating, track. But your biggest passion is track, isn't it?
Track. Yes.
She sees her future as a lawyer with the desire to give back to her family that has supported her so well as she grew up. Welcome, Ashley and Sidel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin. I want to hear from each of you to describe why you wanted to work with, in Ashley, in your case with Laurel, and Sidel, in your case with me. Just take a few minutes and just to describe that. I want to begin with you, Ashley.
Okay, sure. All right. Oh gosh, when did I start with Laurel? Do you know? A
No.
couple months prior. Anyway, so I did not have much direction in my life. When I first saw the episode with her in it. So I'd been looking for a mentor actually. I'd been looking for specifically a college mentor, someone who would help me through the college admission process. And when I saw her episode, I was like, wait, this is exactly what I need. So I did decide to reach out to her, and she has been such a great help. I did not know my values. I didn't have a plan really moving into my future career. I still had no idea what college I want to get into. So she really helped me through all of those things.
Fabulous. Sidel, how about you?
Um. Well, I met you through my mom, and when my mom introduced me to you and showed me all that you did, especially with your website, I was more than excited to start the mentoring. And when I've always wanted to go to college, and I didn't know where to start in a way. I had like plans and visions of how I envisioned college life to be and what I wanted to do. But the starting point is where you help me organize my thoughts and ideas, and been able to make a system out of it. And I have some direction and have like a game plan now of what I would like to do in the future.
Great. All right. Well, we have so much to cover, but let's see if we can get a little bit more. Laura actually describes her process a bit, Ashley, and I was wondering maybe we could begin with Laura describing it a bit, and then I'd love to hear from you your reactions as to how you felt through that process. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Let's go. Let's bring Laura back in. Well, I know that you have a coaching process. I wonder if we could just take a minute or so and talk about that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So, basically, when I'm mentoring students, my first is the identification. So, they reach out to me or a parent reaches out to me and I have a conversation with them. And we make sure that it's a fit. We basically go on a little bit of a date, if you will, and we have a chat and I get to know them and I get to figure out if their character and my character will mesh together as a mentor mentee, right? And it's important because if I can't understand them, that means they can't understand me. And so that identification is very important. So once we've identified each other and we've done our matching, our little date period and said, yeah, you know what, this is going to work. Our first real session is to sit down and set goals. I'm not here for long-term mentorship. You can come back to me, but we have to be intentional about why we're doing it. What's the plan? What's the goal that we're trying to get to? And if we use Ashley as our example, she was really brilliant about stating exactly what she wanted to achieve. And in the end, we achieved a lot more, mostly because her original goal was just a snippet of who she needs to be and where she needs to go. But I wasn't going to define that for her in that moment. I was going to allow her to evolve through the process to see how we were going to get there. So after we set our goal, Madeline, the I would say the most fun is understanding your values. Ashley, again, if we use her as our example, she wants to be a fashion designer, of which I know nothing about, right? Like I wear clothes. Check it off the list. That's as good as it gets for me. But what I do know is I do know how to create the right skills and the right capabilities in order to achieve anything, as do you. And so the first thing she was talking about was the type of brands that she likes to wear and things like that. And I says, well, what's your brand? And we came to the conclusion that she needed to understand her values. And when I was taking her on the understanding of her values journey, that's when the light bulbs really came on for her, as they did for me when I first did it. No word of a lie. She realized who she was and how she was forming in her future self. And I think that that's a very special thing for somebody to establish. And the earlier they can establish it, the better. Because what it does is it allows you to understand when you're upset, when you're frustrated, when you're disappointed. It's because your values aren't being adhered to, that they're not being acknowledged. But without knowing what your values are, you'll never get there.
I'm going to put this on pause and Ashley ask you to give just some initial reactions. How did you feel in that process of discovering your values?
Well, I feel like the values were the most important part so far. I didn't know what my values were, really. I was just kind of going with the flow. I was doing what I felt like doing. So seeing those values on paper really did help me identify myself a lot more.
Oh, great. All right, let's go back to Laurel.
The fact that we were able to get to her values so quickly and allowed her to see what designer she was going to be. Like we actually created an entire picture of who we thought she was going to be as a designer, right? For 10 years from now. And she was just like, that sounds amazing. And I think that it's whether you're a designer or an architect or a horticulturist, knowing what those values are helps to paint that picture of your future. And it just creates clarity like no other. That's the most important part of it. I was thinking maybe we could pause here for a moment and allow you to kind of share some of your value experiences. Is there a value that you identified that created such clarity that you now know how to operate in really challenging situations?
Yes. For me, when I am working with people toward a particular goal, I always want it to be generative. It has to give life to everybody that's involved. It can't be destructive of something. It means it changes my language of how I work with it and how I explain it. But it's very, very important to me that it maintains a sense of vitality so that people are moved forward. So that's one of the big value for me.
And isn't that one of the most powerful things you can think of, right? Like it's just you explaining that in and of itself is a powerful thing, right? Like I can see you in a meeting right now. So that's what was really great about Ashley and I is one of her greatest values is beauty. She wants to see the beauty in everything, similar to yourself, by the way. You say that's a superpower of yours.
Yes.
And so she doesn't ignore that now. She's like, it allows me to see my why as to what I'm doing and that the goals that I'm trying to attain are real and that important to me because I see the beauty within it. So once we do the planning of the values, we then actually plan out where is it that we want to go. We go back to our goal setting and we say, okay, in order to achieve this, what are the skills and capabilities that we have to date? And let's prioritize those on the most important ones that we need to get sooner versus later, having short-term plans and long-term plans. And then we move to the skill development. How are we going to get there? Guidance, transition. I really wanted her to stay curious throughout the course of this versus just being a robot following my lead. And she most certainly was not, right? She took great pleasure in the efforts that she put in because she always had a smile on her face at the end of our conversations. And then transitioning. We met our goal. It's time for us to transition out, of which we did. And we're just finishing it up right now. And it's not a transition for an end. Remember, I'm just a stepping stone.
Right.
It's a transition for opportunity, for continuation, for future discussions. When she's at another crossroads in her career or her life or her education, where she'll just be like, hey, let's start another goal. Let's set another tease at a time that are of the teenage, early university years, to support them on their academic journey, their professional job.
I accidentally hit the wrong button, so we've lost a little bit of what Laura was about to say, but
That's all
I
right.
think that you get the message.
For sure.
I apologize. I'll apologize to Laura later. Well, Ashley, I'm really curious as to your reaction and how you felt this process went for you, and what were the things that really stood out for you?
Well, while I was watching the video, I had like one or two thoughts in my mind, and I think the main one was how she mentioned that beauty is one of my biggest values, and I don't think I really realized that values were so important until I realized that my value was beauty. Like I realized how deep that value went. Like suddenly I realized my entire career was centered around beauty. Like everything that I wanted to do was to chase that beauty. And then sometimes like I realize when I'm listening to music, like I think to myself, why do I like this piece of music? Why do I not like it? And I think to myself, like I list the reasons why I like it or why I don't, and it all relates to how it stands out. It's very it like suddenly beauty became a sort of an algorithm for me, and that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Oh, that's interesting. So you really see it almost as a framework of how you perceive the world. Yeah. Sidel, we haven't talked about you and what you did, but I'm curious as to whether you have any reactions to what you're hearing about Ashley's journey.
Oh no, I think that's very cool how she sees the beauty in things because like she said, it brings value to things. It brings a why to what you're doing. So it's not like a countless routine. Like even though it's your goal to do whatever you're doing, once you see like the end goal and you can see like little bits of how good it can be, it makes it more encouraging.
I'm thinking about you and your sports, and even though you may not ever use the word beauty, I can imagine you on the track running, and there might be a sense in your mind that your body's moving beautifully.
Yeah.
That's probably me interpreting, but I'll do it anyway. Well, I think it would be good for us to talk a little bit about the process that you and I went through, Sidel, and we'll do a little comparison there. Let's see. Let me get that one on the screen. Let's see if this will work. There we go. I have I tend to be very simplified, so my chart is a little different than Laurel's. And Sidel, I want you to interrupt me at any time as I go through this.
Okay.
We were preparing for a decision, right? Because you were trying to decide. Well, why don't you describe what it was we were trying to do on this one?
Okay. I would say we were trying to figure out the factors that I wanted in a college and then decide which college fit those factors for me and the goals that I wanted to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at which best were lined up with the goals that I wanted and that would fit to the career that I desired.
Yeah.
So I would say this is exactly how it went.
Yeah. Clearly, I saw it. For me, it was preparing you for that decision because I wasn't going to make that decision. You're going to make that decision ultimately. Okay, little background noise.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That does happen. And what we did was we looked at the reasons. We began with the reasons why you wanted to do it. And I loved some of your stories about why you felt that becoming a lawyer was so important. If you don't mind, I would love it if you would just share why you felt that was an important goal for you.
Okay. So when I was in third grade, that's when it really started. But it was basically that time in elementary school when they would always ask, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow older?" And then they would we'd dress up and come to school. But that day you would get to act out what position you were doing. So mine was a lawyer, so we got to set up the classroom in that type of manner. But I always was drawn to do stuff like that or watch shows like that that involved it. And the the whole balance of like standing up for whatever you're defending or researching and knowing how to counterattack whatever opposing side for your argument, it's
Mhm.
just appealing to me. It's fun, it's interesting, and I enjoy doing it. And right now I'm taking a public speech course, and we do a lot of debate style like lessons, and I've realized more and more that I enjoy that field.
Oh, that's great. Well, in our process, we certainly explored all that, but we also did a lot of work, as you recall, on the image of yourself and who you are. You see over there, it says self-knowledge. I remember asking you lots of questions and asking you also to not only tell me stories from your life, but to also interview other people so that they could tell you what they saw in you, so that you got that was the second, to me, that was an important step, that you got a rounded sense of what you bring to the table. Uh, any thoughts that you have to expand on that?
I think, well, one, I think it was a great exercise to see how other people viewed me, especially not only like my friends but teachers as well. And I most of the thoughts that they had, I figured that they would have by the way that they act towards me.
Mhm.
But some teachers went into depth of saying like specific roles that I do or like how I take care of my work or something like that. Or even I remember telling you this, how they think certain friends around me that may produce things that they might not like. So I think it was a good opportunity to see what they want to see in me.
Yeah, it was interesting. We had some discussions about that, didn't we? About the kinds of friends that
Yes.
that anybody should be looking for. Yeah, that was great. That was a great conversation. The other thing we did was we reached out, and we did two things, as I recall. One was to actually have a practicing lawyer be available to you so that you could interview him. Uh,
Yes.
And I would love for you to share with our audience how it was to sit and talk with a very experienced lawyer who works in the international arena. What
His
was
name
your?
is Pablo, I think.
Mhm.
Yes. We it was very interesting because I got to see how he felt in his field of study, and he talked about not only just the regular work basis of it, but the traveling and his work colleagues and how he got there and the decisions that he took in college and stuff like that to get to where he is. And I appreciated him going into depth of how you need to focus when you're in that when you're taking your bar exam and stuff like that. But you also need to find the joy of what you're doing, because if you're not enjoying it, like he said, it's not going to be something that you're going to want to keep on doing.
Yeah. There was one question that you asked him, which I thought, why is Sidel asking him this question? But I didn't want to say that because it was important to you. I said, okay, she's going to ask the question. And it turned out to be a wonderful question. You asked, what should you be studying in high school to prepare to become a better lawyer? Do you remember his response? He
Oh,
said, he said you should be studying literature.
literature. Yes. Yes.
And it's interesting because it reflects so much on the ability to use the language well, not just and to know the language better. And as a lawyer, language is incredibly important. So it was a wonderful. I thought it was just amazing, and I was so happy then that you had asked that question because I would not have anticipated that. And the other person that we interviewed, she was Nita Gupta, and you asked her about the factors. Remember, because all through this process, we were looking at what factors we could gather to decide on your choice of college. And any thoughts about her reactions?
Yes, she really honed in on the fact that networking was very important and that the people that you surround yourself with will really help you grow and get better as a lawyer or becoming a lawyer. She said those people you'd have to be smart and wise, even connecting it with the friendship thing that you were telling me,
Mhm.
how different friends you're able to give off to them and they're also able to give things to you, certain like factors that will help grow you as a person. So I think it's very important to surround yourself with people that not only are like-minded but are maybe more elevated or smarter than you may be, so that you can also learn and um, increase in knowledge with them.
Mhm. It's funny as you were saying that, Sidel. I was thinking about my response to Laurel when she asked me about my values, and I talked about I always want to bring vitality to a conversation. I had never made that connection until just now, but that's part of my selection process, so to speak, of working with people and choosing who I work with. So, thank you for giving me that new insight. Okay, so this is my process that we walked through: self knowledge, uh, reaching out to others, and then actually honing in on those particular factors. Now, we're going to show you the results of Sidel's work, but I want to pause now and Ashley, any questions or comments that you have on what Sidel has been doing?
Well, I just want to say that it's very admirable what you've been doing as a lawyer. I thought about it once in fifth grade, and then I didn't carry through with it. So it's very cool how you stuck with it since your childhood. That's very, very admirable. I've switched career options like 5 times already. Yeah, and also I do want to comment that vitality in a conversation is also very important to me. Friendships are very important to me. I owe lots of my progress to the people that I surround myself with. So I just want to say that you're completely correct with that. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, Sidel, shall we show them?
Yes.
Here we go. Now, I don't want anybody to be overwhelmed by this because we're not going to go through all the elements. But I just have to say, Sidel, I was just so pleased. You have what, about 15 factors that you wanted to think about
Yes.
in relationship to how many colleges have you been looking at now?
Um,
Excuse me.
there is seven right now. Seven right now, and I'm pretty sure this is the seven I'm keeping. I actually added Delaware like a week ago
Mhm.
after looking at their stats. But yes, should I just go through the factors I have on the left?
I think that would be very interesting and why those are important.
Okay. So first we have the freshman retention rate, and obviously I wanted to see how many people came back to the school again to know how well they were doing. And then we have the student to faculty ratio. And I've gone to private school since I was in third grade. So I'm already used to smaller class sizes, but I'm in areas where there's big arenas like in practice or wherever I am. Like I can do with having a bigger crowd. But I just wanted to see how much of a difference it would be from my smaller class sizes to going to maybe a bigger class with a higher, like more people in the class. So I
Mhm.
looked at that ratio. And then meal plans. This one I remember us laughing over because it's a bit silly, but it's still important. One, the cost, and also what food they have. And then next I have transportation because as of now, I don't really know how my transportation would be if I would have a car. Not really thinking about that yet, but just to know what transportation, like transit or bikes or a shuttle. So I put those options there. And then student life, because some schools may be like a party school. Like I think Delaware is like number 2 out of party schools. Now I'm not looking to go to a party school, but knowing like the student life and the dynamics there, I feel were useful. And then financial aid. So, knowing about financial aid is very helpful to apply for scholarships or grants and let them know your situation beforehand. I think that's pretty self explanatory. And
Mhm.
then the curfew, just knowing, also, I feel self explanatory, knowing what time, and then majors. So when I first started with Miss Madeline, my only thing in mind was pre-law, and that was it. But now that I've done more research and study, I've seen that there's other things that I want to do that aren't pre-law. Like pre-law might not even be on the options. So that's why there's the dot dot dot. by next month, but I know that most of them have pre-law. And then jobs and internships in the area. So if I went to one of these universities for 4 years and I liked the living conditions there, doing an internship during attending there or having a job there, I wanted to know how many they had in the area. So it shows some of them, like it lists them out perfectly to see how much they have, but most of them you might not see any at all. And then athletics, the biggest key factor on this list. Um, all of these picked here already have track. That's a given. And then since I figure skate as well, um, I put figure skating there if I wanted to coach skating there or even just think of joining a team, but that's always there. And then I put safety, pretty self-explanatory, and then travel opportunities for students. So one of the things that I discussed with Ms. Madeline is being an international policy lawyer. I think I'm saying that correctly.
Mhm.
That allows you to travel. Obviously, like the one lawyer that I spoke to, he got to travel a lot, and I feel like that was really cool. And so I put those opportunities there because you can do some of these schools offer you to do your major and travel and do your major, but you're doing it in a whole part of the country, different part of the country. And then the graduation rate, self-explanatory. And then the prestige, it just shows what it's ranked nationally. And then the transfer flexibility, let's say this has been in mind. If I went to Delaware for 2 years because I feel as if I could get accepted there easily, and then transfer to Kentucky because I know it's a lower chance of me getting in, hypothetically. And then maybe if I get my name out there, do well in Delaware and transfer in, just to know how easy or hard it may be. And then the transfer flexible. Oh, sorry. And then I added clubs and fraternities, and my dream school right now is Kentucky, University of Kentucky, and they have a fraternity called Phi Alpha Delta, and it's a fraternity that allows students to practice LSATs and associate with practicing lawyers, and they meet well, as of now they meet Tuesdays and Fridays, and I like how it's like a club, but it's not like a lecture style, it's more like a coffee house style.
Mhm.
And then UK Blue is an accelerated program that allows you to complete your BA and JD in 6 years, and it's also the same style. You have some more lecturing, but I just find it more entertaining when it's in a club. So
Okay.
that's my college comparison.
Ashley, what do you think of that list?
It's very impressive. That's very cool what you've done. Yeah, I've done similar research, not that in depth. Jeez, like it's like half of it. But it's really cool. It seems like Georgetown and Kentucky, maybe? Is that what
Yeah.
you're thinking? Yeah, because
Yes.
Georgetown looks like a really good option from your
Yes.
research. And also, I'd also like to comment, it's cool how you want to get into Phi Alpha Delta. I'm in Phi Alpha Kappa right now
Oh,
because
nice.
of early college. So it's very chill. You get tons of scholarship opportunities. So it's definitely like very, very cool.
I'm glad to hear that.
Oh yeah.
You know, one of the things that I love about this particular exercise that Sidel did was I can just imagine some admissions person trying to recruit her to their particular college. And Sidel is going to be able to say exactly why she wants to go and why she doesn't want to go with this clear definition. I'm curious, and this for both of you in your individual processes or even what you've learned since. What are the unexpected lessons that you have discovered through this mentoring as you have gone through mentoring? Sidel, let's begin with you.
Okay. I feel like in the beginning when I first started, I saw college as such like an open thing. Like, where do you even begin? This is so complicated. You have to write an essay, and then you don't know if they're gonna accept you. But once you break it down and organize it into a manner, yes, it's still overwhelming because it's college, it's your future. But at the same time, you realize once you put in the work and you just you structure yourself in a way, it's not as vast as it seems. it's just another level of education. And not to say that like blankly, but it's just elevating your education. It's not anything that should make you like frightened or scared.
Mhm. How about you, Ashley?
Well, Sadell, that's very comforting to hear, because that's exactly what I've been thinking recently. That it's very vast, very difficult, not much of a guarantee. So yeah, okay. So with my mentoring process, it was basically like the same thing. Like I felt very like complicated about my future, and so the unexpected lesson is that Laurel helps me like put that together. I didn't expect much coming in, but she really did help me put it together. So
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm curious as to whether you think that a student could take these ideas and work with them for themselves, or do you really feel? I mean, obviously, you're both experienced with having a mentor. I'm curious about your thoughts as to whether a person could do it themselves.
um okay, I'll go first then. In my opinion, I feel like I mean, I guess they could, but like I just feel like it's like watching a YouTube tutorial, like it's not the same as getting someone face to face helping you do it. Like because that other person's experiences you can draw from them, yeah, but you can't draw from a YouTube tutorial. Like you're not going to get those like hidden tips, hidden tricks to help you move forward faster. So yeah, I don't think it's the same, but like yeah, you could, I guess.
Sidel, how about your thoughts?
I think it can definitely be done on your own, but the accountability that you have when you have a mentor, because you don't want to disappoint yourself or them,
That's true.
and also like having that person that is giving you that assurance. As I was saying before, I saw this as a scary thing. Even I slightly do see it as a scary thing, but I'm just saying like having a person there is more comforting. If I was just watching a YouTube video of how to do it, I might feel, oh, maybe I'm doing this wrong, or like there's some uneasiness to it.
Oh yeah, that brings to mind, college acceptance videos and like college stat videos on YouTube.
Yes.
There's so much uncertainty,
Mhm.
like so much, like it's all these accomplished high schoolers. So it's really nice having a mentor to group it all together.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your comments on this. Uh, I can't believe how much time has gone by, although we've covered an awful lot of ground. Uh, and I want to make sure that we touch base with Laurel. I know that she has one more thing, because to me, one of the things that I think is very important for people to do is to celebrate when they've done something really well. Uh, just the sense that you've got it done is so important. So I'm gonna bring Laurel back on and capture her thoughts about celebration, and then we'll come back to the three of us and we'll chat about that.
Designers to do an ask. Here's my call to action for you. And although the video isn't ready, I'm going to share just a couple of sentences out of the script that she built herself without any direction from me whatsoever, because she's far more brilliant than I am. So I'm just going to read a couple of those sentences, and then I'm going to celebrate Ashley without her ever knowing that that was planned. So it says, for 8 years, I practiced the piano 2 to 4 hours every single day, only to hate it. Art helped me to learn to love meticulously myself and eventually the gift of piano as well. It gave me visual representation of progress, and through this, I began seeing my progress in piano too. I realized my perfect pitch was a result from piano, and then I made countless connections through my skills in music. Art and music became what I treasure the most about myself. So, this is a junior in high school, and she's coming up with all of this brilliance in 4 sentences.
Yeah.
So easy to celebrate her, Madeline. This is so easy. I I want Ashley to know that it's not just beauty that she values, but it is her sheer passion and determination for evolving, remaining curious, and never stopping. And to that, my glass of water, I cheers you, Ashley. I'm so proud of what you've already accomplished in this short time in your life, because so many adults never get there. To you.
Okay. I loved
That was
her.
really sweet.
I loved her comments, Ashley. uh, well, I feel compelled to do a suitable uh, toast to Sidel, because I'm thinking about your work in sports. Now, Ashley spent hours at the piano, but you spend hours on the track, on the skating rink, on the volleyball court. I mean, how many hours a week do you spend on sport?
A lot. A lot. Even though they're seasonal, it's still there's always a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, okay, I'm gonna raise my mug to you and say, Sidel, to you who have also a passion and a commitment. I just know that it's going to take you far. So,
Thank you.
well, last words. Do either of you? I'll start with you, Ashley. Maybe some last words to our audience from
Okay.
this.
Well, I think that the most pivotal moment in my life was when I finally realized that any progress is still progress, you know? Like everything that you do every day, like it moves you forward. So it's really up to you to decide what you want to do to try and progress that, you know? Yeah, yeah, I think that's all.
It's an important one. It's in our
Okay.
choices. It's in
Okay.
our choices. Yeah. Sidel?
I would say with this journey, just to keep collected, try not to stay overwhelmed. I'm very thankful for the mentoring, and that if like with all the work and the progress, I feel like especially with my faith, God will honor it and just keep on doing it for his glory. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both. Wow. All right. I tell you, this has been such an honor to have this opportunity to work with two amazing individuals. And I think that my selection of the little book, it's called The Little Book of Talent, is the perfect one for these two. It's by Daniel Coyle. This book was introduced to me by a man by the name of Bo Eason. He is one of the best teacher mentors I have ever experienced in my entire career. He recommended this book as a reinforcement of his message that if you wish to improve in something, you must practice. Now, this book was written for athletes who wish to be their very best. And I'm going to read from it because this is the passage that really made a difference to me after I read it. Practice was the big game. Now he's talking about athletes who aren't just great, they are really great. The center of their world, the main focus of their daily lives, practice. This approach succeeds because over time, practice is transformative if it's the right kind of practice. Keep deep, what he calls deep practice. The key to deep practice is to reach. This means to stretch yourself slightly beyond your current ability, spending time in the zone of difficulty called the sweet spot. It means embracing the power of repetition so the action becomes fast and automatic. It means creating a practice space that enables you to reach and repeat, to stay engaged and improve your skills over time. This little book reminds me so much of Ashley and Sidel. They have both continued to reach and reach and reach, and they probably will never stop in their entire lives. Wow. The idea of practice allowed me to see the value of working at something with real purpose in mind. And for those of you who've read my book, you know that I offer practices to do in order to nurture your resilience. And yes, it's one of the reasons I talk about practices and making them a part of your life. Small book, big impact. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Unlocked, and if you did, I'd like you to comment on social media and say what you learned and might do differently as a result. And if you're on YouTube, click the like button. I'm Madeline Blair, wishing you infinite possibilities as you unlock your resilience.